Good afternoon. My name is Mark Solomon. I'm senior writer at FreightWaves. I am pleased to be joined today by Gordon Glazer. Gordon is senior consultant and USPS specialist for Shipware, LLC. They are a consulting firm based in San Diego, California. Welcome, Gordon.
Thank you. Nice to be here.
Good to have you. The topic is the Postal Service's pivot. It's been a very difficult year for the Postal Service politically, financially, but they will still be doing business after Election Day. So I guess my first question to you is, what does the peak season look like for the Post Office? Can they handle what is expected to be unprecedented volumes for all parcel carriers?
I believe they can. The Postal Service is made up of around 600,000 really hardworking Americans who take great pride in their work. The Postal Service lives for Q4. It is their time. They will deliver. There are challenges, of course. They're like all companies are facing tremendous volume overload challenges, and I think it's a question of setting proper expectations. The shippers themselves have to set the proper expectations on when things are going to get delivered. And all services are seeing delays across the board from all carriers. As you know, the guarantees have been removed from FedEx and UPS. They're all instituting, some sort of peak surcharges. The post office has peak surcharges, all designed to help them cover the additional costs of handling the incredible volume during Q4, and specifically, Black Friday through Christmas, of course.
Okay. The new Postmaster General, Louis DeJoy, pushed through the first peak season surcharge in the history of the Postal Service. Is this going to be the wave of the future for USPS? Will there be more surcharges as volumes continue to increase and their cost to serve goes up as well?
I don't know. I really don't know. Nobody really knows what's going to happen. We think that the volume is going to stay higher than it was before. That buying patterns have changed, and we've seen 5 years of e-commerce growth in the last 6 months or so, and the trajectory is exponential in terms of how it's growing. So what does that look like when a vaccine's available, when things start to get back to some new normalcy? We believe buying behaviors have changed permanently, and that there's going to be a tremendous increase that we've seen. It's not going to stay at that same level, but there's going to be a much higher, it's going to reset to a much higher participation for e-commerce.
There has been a great deal of talk about what impact President Trump's suggestion that the post office quadruple its parcel shipping rates. His view is that Amazon is getting away with murder and that the Postal Service is just a piñata for Jeff Bezos to whack every now and then. What damage would that do, if any damage, to the post office if they followed President Trump's suggestion?
Well, up until a few weeks ago, we didn't know, right? We projected, and then there was this accidental release of 10,000 pages of information, and it's cleared up a lot of things. And we know from internal documents that were released that the post office is making money on Amazon, according to their internal documents, to the tune, I think it was like 1.5 billion or 1.7 billion. I can't remember exactly. So they are making money. And it would be an absolute disaster. They charted out all these different scenarios in those documents, and if they did raise prices 4 times, the pricing the post office understands is it's incredibly elastic. So every increase in pricing, there's an equivocal reduction of volume, and that hurts, right? So they got to find the right balance. Last year's rate change, they raised prices, the volume got hit pretty hard, but the revenue increased. So you could argue that maybe it wasn't a terrible thing because they're profitable on the packages. Trump has been completely off, and it's unfortunate that all of a sudden the post office has been drug into this political quagmire. Look, I don't like being too political, but when they threaten my post office, something that I hold truly dear to my heart, as a beloved American institution, when a sitting president goes after that, I mean, he's gone after the census, he's gone after so many different things that trying to improve his chances of staying in office, and it's unfortunate, but we have to work around it. I believe the line haul, American postal workers, they're not going to follow some of these things to the letter, and they're going to deliver for us, and it's incredibly safe. I know there's a lot of concerns about the mail not being safe and all this fraud that's going on. It's all baloney. Okay, there has never been any evidence of any kind of widespread postal mail fraud for political reasons. And there's good reasons for that. I mean, anybody who does anything to tamper with the mail is tampering with, federal laws. It's not misdemeanors; it's felonies, and it's the same laws that protect our currency, that protect the Postal Service. It would be incredibly stupid for somebody, to mess with or tamper with the mail. The inspection service, I mean, they have different entrances that they enter in. They walk through catwalks through the building. Nobody knows when an inspector is watching. And they have incredible latitude. And, that's why the mail is very, very secure. That's why they use the mail to send the Hope Diamond, the most valuable object in the world. They sent it through U.S. mail because it was the safest way to transport it.
Louis DeJoy's appointment has been heavily politicized. His actions over the past 2 or 3 months have been heavily politicized and criticized. But if you look at his background, he is a logistician and a businessman. If we operate under the assumption that the Postal Service's future lies not with letters or circulars, but with parcels, would a person of DeJoy's background and qualifications be an excellent fit for Postmaster General for the next 4 or 5 years?
If he didn't have investments in his competitors, possibly. If he wasn't placed by members of the Board of Governors with a particular political direction that they wanted him to follow, if he recused himself from conversations with the White House on what they were trying to achieve, and focused on the job at hand, I believe he does have the qualifications to properly run. But I mean, if you look at the things that he's done, I mean, the Friday massacre, where 30 some high executives got reshuffled on a Friday, and then you start removing all the equipment around the country and picking up post office boxes, but not everywhere. You pick up post office boxes where Trump is worried about losing. And so they're eliminating these mailboxes from area neighborhoods and areas where served by Democrats, primarily. And it's not equal. Mail balloting's okay for him, or it's okay for the military, but it's not okay for democratically majority states. The Republican states, it's fine. There's no problem with fraud there. It's just in the Democratic areas. It's obvious what's going on.
As I said at the start of our conversation, the Postal Service is going to be in business November 4th, November 5th, and perhaps as long as there's a standing republic. Their parcel business is under severe strain. Their major customers of an important product, Parcel Select, are moving that business in-house. FedEx Corp and UPS Incorporated are going after the small to mid-sized business that is the heart of the Postal Service's priority mail product. What can the post office do to stem this negative flow in the one business that has been a shining light over the past decade?
They have to deliver. They have to continue doing their core services. They're at every door every day. It's a tremendous advantage. And as you talk about the reduction of other services and the growth of package services, yes, we're seeing that. They overtook just recently, the standard mail, marketing mail, overtook that as a percentage of revenue. And first class, the more profitable first class mail is gone down. So yes, packages are a very, very important part of their mix, and they're threatened from all sides, right? So it's a duopoly, a co-opetition, right? So you've got UPS and FedEx that were using the post office to deliver the final mile. FedEx is trying to pull all of that volume in-house, okay, and they're going to do 100%, delivery. Eliminating SmartPost is going to be FedEx, economy service, ground economy. The name's not named yet, but it's going to be, they're merging their networks. UPS is doubled down with the Postal Service, so they're continuing to use the Postal Service to deliver the packages that they don't want to keep in network. They're union house, and they're keeping, I think, around 35% or so in house right now. The consolidators depend on the Postal Service, all of them, for delivering the final mile. And Amazon, of course, is an emerging competitor. They're buying more planes and more trucks. They are cherry picking the most lucrative shipping lanes where they have density and they can achieve, economies of scale and so forth. The post office is very, they understand the elasticity of price. They understand how important it is to price their products competitively. They understand what the marketplace is out there. Unfortunately, they have to work through, the PRC and the Board of Governors, and they've got, avenues for their competitors to come in and argue that, whether or not they're properly pricing. So it's not like a typical company that can just make a decision on price. They've got Congress in their picture. They've got the PRC, the Board of Governors, the president's making comments. How many other businesses have all these different entities getting in their face talking about how to set pricing? UPS has spent millions of dollars on those studies at the PRC, Dr. Nielsen, trying to change the way the post office does their cost accounting for covering their institutional costs. They recently passed that 10-year review with the PRC from the PAEA, the Postal Accountability Enhancement Act, that mandated that at the time 5% of their institutional costs were covered by the package services. Well, today it's up to closer to 25%, and the reason is because of these threats from UPS and the understanding of this review that recently was completed.
The Trump administration rolled out a postal reform plan a couple of years back. Are there elements in that plan that are workable enough to implement?
Certainly. I believe the post office should be allowed to do some additional things to help their business grow, like any business. Postal banking is one, right? So there's areas in this country that do not have good access to banking, and the Postal Service could provide that. But the lobbyists, of course, have pushed against it. The Postal Service wanted to eliminate, 6-day-a-week mail delivery. Let's keep it for packages, right? Because mail, as you mentioned, is becoming a little less relevant, right? So that was turned down. Congress shut that down. The post office was reorganized, their facilities reorganization, part of a consolidation. The Congress stepped in the middle of that while they were reducing facilities and shut that off because some people during this process, they weren't, there were some delays and things that were taking place. So the post office is, you try and, go forward and they get pushed back. But yes, absolutely, there are some things that they can do. But I think it's important to uphold Benjamin Franklin's dream of the post office unifying our country, just like our highway systems. And that's why there's this universal delivery standard that, that's why privatization won't work, is because the way it is now, it's equal for all Americans, regardless of where they live. The post office is that unifying force that makes America great. It would be a bad idea to split that up, in my opinion.
Can the post office not handle parcels that are too big or too bulky, that require far more handling by the letter carrier than just putting a parcel in a mailbox?
It's interesting. Yes, the post office is really geared towards the smaller, lighter weight packages. Their conveyor systems, anything over 25 pounds is considered an outside parcel anyway. It's not even supposed to come into the building, right? So it stays outside. It is geared towards the lighter weight. And it's funny because in September of 2014, after UPS and FedEx, were removing the dimensional divisors and increasing the pricing, the post office at the same time, lowered the rates by almost 100% in some lanes. There was a 50% reduction, and then turned around 2 years later, and it was 100% or more greater to bring it back up to where it was. They experimented with that, and their trucks just aren't designed for those bigger, heavy packages. They can only hold so many. And it takes more trips back and forth to the DDU to, and that delays things. So yeah, it's not where they play. They know where they play, and they don't want to be everything. They're not like the national carriers. They fit in a very, in that e-commerce space, really, in that, under the ounce-based pricing for their under a pound can't be beat by anybody. Nobody can beat it. They are the leader there in both first-class package services as well as the parcel select lightweight, which is what the consolidators use for like Smart Post, SurePost, MI, DHL e-commerce, Pitney Bowes Logistics, OSM, et cetera. That's how that works.
Can the Postal Service fill the hole that will be left by FedEx and, to a certain extent, left by UPS and Amazon?
They're going to have to. They're going to have to, to survive. They have to keep their prices low to be relevant. Remember, they're there every door every day. The other carriers can't. They're always going to be the carrier of choice for the least desirable routes, right? And then they're going to pick up, obviously the metro areas from a lot of shippers. It's a direct network, right? You're not dealing with multiple handoffs or whatever. And UPS and FedEx and Amazon, they're going to go after those high density, areas where they can, achieve the economies of scale. And that's going to hurt volume. But remember, the volume is growing as well. And the post office can, they can balance. It's going to be a little bit of a juggling act, but these things don't happen overnight typically, and it will evolve over time. The post office is a great career, so that they're not going to have the same issues attracting labor like, the other folks are, where they have to pay, and compete with unemployment and compete with everything else that's going on in today's market. So government job's a good job to have as a second career.
Should the post office be liberated? I think Postmaster General DeJoy used that word. Should they be liberated from the unwieldy pricing mechanisms that are currently in place?
I think that they've gotten a lot of that capability today. They received that in 2006, executed in 2007 from the PAEA, the Postal Accountability and Enhancement Act, that was signed by George Bush. And it separated the Postal Service from market dominant or the mailing products that does need to be regulated and is tied to CPI and other means to change pricing. And the shipping side, or the competitive side of the business, where they have a lot more latitude to change prices. And unfortunately, there's still some areas that I think the post office would like to see go away. In other words, their competitors coming in there telling and trying to change the way they do things so that they can compete better. It's not fair. Congress meddling with, closing of post offices and changing some of these things. There's a lot of meddling from Congress and not allowing the Postal Service to do what it wants. Maybe adding banking services, maybe eliminating mail on Saturday and just packages on Saturday. They want more latitude. And every Postmaster General in the history, since I've been in this business for 36 years, has always been asking for more latitude in terms of their ability to act more like a business. And I don't think that's changed under DeJoy. Although, frankly, I think there may be some nefarious, I think that Trump and their cronies, they want to sell the post office, split it up like Blue Star and Gordon Gekko and what was it, Wall Street. I think that's what they want to do, like Blue Star Airlines, and split it up and sell it and make a lot of money. So the whole carpetbaggers, if you go back to the Reconstruction and after the Civil War, what took place. I mean, that's what's happening, I think. And you know, he's making too much money. He's done some things, you know, that aren't right. So, and he's being called out on it across the country. And Americans aren't going to stand for anybody messing with their postal service. I mean, people. I was thrilled to death in my own hometown. People are out there on a hot day, you know, protesting about. They want to make sure their post office, their mail is not tampered with for political reasons. And people are upset, and we're not going to stand for it. And this is going to pass. DeJoy's going to get, you know, he's either going to set straight or he's going to get pushed out. And I think some of the board of governors need to be, you know, set straight and make sure that they're doing what they're supposed to be doing. And I think things are going to get straightened out come January when we get a new leader in charge of our country.
On that apolitical note, I want to thank Gordon Glazer, senior consultant and USPS specialist at Shipware LLC. My name is Mark Solomon, senior writer at FreightWaves. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mark.
Thank you, Gordon.